Hi there, it's Live Prep here, and this article here is about the myth of going into the woods. Now, I've had subjects with different people about it, but for most part, that's what people's answer is. I want to run into the woods. You have, depends on where you live at, has a lot to do with it. And unfortunately, most of us live in cities or towns or areas where it is somewhat populated. But this here is called a prepper myth. It's, of course, by Pat Henry, and it's when SHTF will you bug out to the woods. It says, I wanted to address a few common misconceptions that I think some people have with how they plan to address an SHTF event in their lives. There are some that are more dangerous than others, granted, but all of these prepper myths give us the opportunity to dissect various topics in the prepper community to better understand the risks and rewards of various approaches. Now, in this article, he said he'll discuss some myths about prepping on SHTF, and since we're going to do in their brand new bug out bass and walk in the national forest, uh, this bug out strategy, of course, and talk about on foremost things. Now, he was talking about over the weekend, he was walking on a trail, and said as he gets down on that trail, he gets looking and they kind of get a remote area, and he starts thinking that this would be a good spot to go, but only a few feet away is the road. There's houses and things. Even though it may get quiet, you may not hear that traffic anymore. It doesn't mean you're far enough away from that situation. And then it says, what do you think you're running to? As with any conversation on the topic, talk about common prepper community, it helps set a framework for discussion. It's talking about. Now, this could be for a host of reasons. And like you said, you can be running from bad situations like riot, war, plague, zombies, and hope to find peace and safety in your new life. Hidden in the woods or nearby forests. This could be a large national forest or simply a few thousand acres in a town that hasn't been developed. And you hear the words, hasn't been developed, right? It sounds logical at first, doesn't it? You have the gear you need in your bug out bag. You have been camping before or living in the woods. Own it. Face doesn't seem like a bad idea at the time, of course. There's no place else to go, and if you simply walk into the forest, you can find a place next to a stream or lake. Set up camp and begin hunting for wild game and frying some freshly caught fish. Maybe you'll even have a location that you have been before that you know is perfect, and you think that you will be safe in this remote space in the woods and somehow be able to avoid whatever what's happened you was running into. Now, here's the thing. If you know about it, chances are there was other people that knows about it as well. So now I admit that there are people who can walk into the wild and survive, even thrive. The number of people who can do this with only what they carry on their back is a small number of people through basic. It says you get on TV. If I'm honest, have a tremendous amount of skills, experience, and luck. Is this a group you consider yourself a member of? Do you consider yourself like that? I was raised up around a lot of country folks, so I acquired basic knowledge how to do things. But over the last few years, I've been reteaching myself how to take care of myself in a situation. Been reteaching myself what plants to use and what I can or can't use, and that's important to do. Since most of us, even the crews through hiking on the Appalachian trails, need supplies to live. Can we go out for brief times and survive? Of course. But if you plan to walk in the forest for the rest of your life with nothing more than some snares you have never used, Your trusty 22 rifle and some dehydrated food, I think you need to revisit your strategy. Most people make bug out bags for only 3 days because the government says and talk about having a 3 day thing. That was always encouraged to have 3 days in case a situation happens and you have to leave your home for a time being because it should be resolved. You hear that? Resolved. Not. A lot of times it could be several weeks, a lot of times it could be several months. It could even lead into several years before things could or would or may never get back to what it was. I said, what's the downsides? The downsides to this approach are numerous. But I think the main two are that most of us do not live in the middle of nowhere. If a social collapse was to happen, there will be a lot of people with bug out bags hiding in the woods right along with you. That wild game you are dependent on catching, just like they do on survival shows, won't stand up to an onslaught of weekend warriors with their expensive sleeping pads and high-powered rifles. In this scenario, it is like you can walk back to Walmart and get some groceries and go back to your tent in the woods. And the truth is, it's what a lot of them do. A lot of them, even though they're camping, they're still a few miles from society. Now, you get those that will go to places that's huge forests. They will go to those places where they can get very remote. Some of them does the hikes and the camps and be gone for 2 weeks, way up into the mountain areas and things like that, into the plains or whatever. They will do that. They will be gone for periods of time. For most people, their stint is a weekend camper, and that's basically what it is. And you'll see all this good high dollar stuff. A lot of them bought to survive over the weekend. Since when I live, we have a homeless population that disappears every night. So where he lives disappears every night. I know that in warmer months, a good number of them live in a wooded area between two interstates. But my assumption is that area isn't the safest place in the world. These homeless people have a stable society they can walk to or a shelter or hang out on most days. What if the stable society collapsed and started moving in with them? What if nobody could eat and there was no shelters to go when the temperature gets cold? Maybe you can find a reasonable remote place to stay where you won't have other people around you, but you will still find the issues of acquiring food a major obstacle. In that situation, many people, as I've pointed out in other videos, just look at people's trash in your neighborhood and look at all. If you see a lot of pizza to go boxes, a lot of to go stuff, a lot of this other stuff, you can tell by their trash what they eat, basically. You know, so you know pretty much that you're not going to count on most of these areas because they basically live off of gold food. A lot of them does. Not all do. Some of them actually does take time and do home cooked meals and things like that. But the lifestyle society, people just got to the point they run by the store and they buy their food and they go and that's what they do. Even I was guilty of. I worked restaurants for years. So eating at the restaurants is what I did. That's what my food. I ate my lunch thing there and I brought food home from work to give to the kids from the restaurant and stuff. That was my lifestyle for many years, and that's the way it is for a lot of people now. So, that's what you're going to be looking at. It's not like it's back in the 60s and, or even early 70s on back when people was raising small gardens and canning their own food and going to farmers market and doing all this and cooking more home cooked meals. Society has changed a great deal. Says if that isn't enough, safety will be a huge consideration in the woods. Your tent offers zero protection from a sharp stick, much less bullets. Additionally, you have to try to live in them for weeks at a time. Even the best tents start breaking down, and handmade shelters will need to be constantly worked on to maintain their weatherproofing. If you are surrounded by forests, it will be harder to see people approaching you, and it'll be easy for them to spy on you from a distance without being, uh, if the shtf when times are desperate, anything you have could become something that unscrupulous people wants to take from you. What about if you want to leave the camp? You couldn't lock anything up. It could be easily stolen while you're work. Leave someone behind and they could be overwhelmed by large numbers. Would you leave a woman alone in a shelter? Again, that's another thing in a shelter situation. You don't want to put all your food in one area. You may want to set a spot aside and cover it up and hide some water, some food, and other things away from the tent as a precautionary measure. Is there a better plan? I've said numerous times that my first plan is to bug in at almost all costs. Does that mean I would never leave my house regardless of reason? No. But I would have to be under extreme pressure before I would take my family into the woods. If I was making my way somewhere and only needed to stop in the woods for the night, that'd be one thing. I would not plan on packing all our stuff on our backs and hiking into the forest through and expect to survive for very long. That's what I talk about. A lot of it's going to be running out. The road's going to be backed up. Everything's going to be backed up. So for me, bugging out that very day would not be an option. I would not see it being beneficial because there's going to be a lot of craziness going on at that time. People are going to rob you and steal your vehicles from you. People are going to just flat out be mean because there's no law. There's people who have never broke a law in their lives, have never done any harm to anybody, will rape people, will murder people, will hurt people, just for the pure sport of doing it, just for the pure satisfaction, because they can get away with it at that time. So, and it's talking about, if you, STS and times for desperate, anything you could have become something that unscrupulous people want to take from you. And then same way, So there, you have said numerous times, you talk about bugging down the cost. Now, what if you know how to forage off the land and you can eat nuts and berries? That's great, but all the other issues are still there. People are going to be with you in the forest, and you can't defend a tent as well as you can your house. If you believe your bug out plan is to hike a national forest that connects to your property, and you haven't considered some of these points, maybe it's worth a second thought. Myself will know when it's time to retreat and run away, but I will be very slow to leave my home. And although I love walking, hiking, and even backpacking in the woods, I don't think it's a violent plan to try and live there if the grids go down. Give me my home and zero electricity or water over the nakedness of the forest any day. So this in here is like I say, he's talking about the thing going into the woods, the prepping myth about going into the woods. And I believe that there is a time when you may have to leave your home and go into it. Depends on the location where you live at. The thing is, a lot of people is going to run out in the woods. That's going to be their answer. They're going to leave their home. They're going to go out in the woods. They're going to try to survive. Many of these people has never done anything to prepare in their life. They're out there. They're trying to survive. They're trying to find food. They're trying to do this. And you're going to have marauders also out there who's going to be taken from those as well. Is there a good time to bug out? That's a judgment call. Is it a good time to how long you stay in? You might, stay in for a week or two in your home. You might not. You might be forced to bug out. You might be forced to leave your home in a situation. So that's something you have to think about on all that. Would I be in a big rush to bug out that day? No. I would prefer to wait. And be honest with you, I would let a lot of them kill each other off. Be honest with you, that's fine with me. Because by them killing each other off, these here are the ones that's going to be a threat. By killing each other off, fighting over that last piece of canned beans or whatever it is, it's going to give me a better chance of surviving in that situation where I'm not going to have to deal with these marauders and things. But they're going to turn on each other. You're going to have this group A here, who is band together. You've got all these little hamburger flippers over here and car wash people here who's became power hungry, or what you want to call it. They get to live the way they fantasize on their little video games or whatever. And then you got another group B here, same scenario basically. They're all trying to survive and make do with what they got, so they want to take from each other. So they're going to fight one another over that last can of beans. And there is going to be good people out there that's going to come in fire of the things too. So, in all ironically, if I say I waited 3 or 4 days before I even took a chance of bugging out, or I was able to stay a week or two before I was able to force the bug out. The fact is, I've allowed myself a little bit of time, allow some of these crazy son of a guns out there to knock each other off. And the same situation is going to happen. These people run into the woods with their tents and their camping supplies and all that. And many of them are not going to make it because they did not really come prepared. They never left that couch. They never left that computer. They're couch potato preppers. And they think they're going to go out there and do all this stuff, but they're not going to be able to. They're not going to survive for long periods of time once the food runs out, and also when the food becomes very scarce. Another thing you have to think about is the time of year when things happen. If it happened during the winter months, I would prefer to stay grounded and wait till springtime to leave out. So you need to think about where you're traveling, location, and what you're going to do. So this is Life Prepper here, and I want all y'all to be safe, be happy, and bless you all.